Hello and welcome to the Melting Pot. I'm Sunil.
And I'm Nij, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So,
what did you think of it?
There's a lot to say. It's good and bad things to say. I think, personally, I thought it was okay. It was a honest Marvel film that sort of fits into where it should go in that segment. But, well, we can get into it as we discuss it. So, what do you think? You obviously don't agree, so...
Okay, so it's one of those movies where when you watch it, you have a lot of feelings, things that you like, things that you don't like. And as time progresses after you watch the movie, there's stuff where I think back and think, actually, that was really cool. And there's other stuff which I thought was not great when I watched it and have progressively become worse and worse for me, where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I tried to watch some of it again last night. I only watched the first 20 minutes because it was like midnight. And I thought, I need to know whether what my thoughts are skewed by bias. And let me just watch some of it again. So I watched the first 15 minutes again. And I was like, this doesn't... No, but things are wrong.
Did you get that from... I thought the first 15 minutes was really good because you don't know anything. You see Doctor Strange, who doesn't look like Doctor Strange, or at least the one we know.
Yeah.
It's all psychedelic colours and visuals going on. His powers.
But is it unlike him? Because when you see him in the first movie, in the first Doctor Strange movie, and then subsequently where he has a tendency to go alone and make very large unilateral decisions, like when he's using the Time Stone against Thanos and stuff like that, you inherently trust him, because at that point we don't know much about his character. But you also kind of get a sense of, this is a guy who thinks he knows it all. Because we know that from his origin story, right?
Yeah, I can see
and
that.
He doesn't have a level of humility. I'll tell you where it came in really for me. I watched up until the cafe scene.
Yeah.
And they're having breakfast. And America Chavez is explaining how she can't control her power.
Yeah.
And it only seems to work when she's at her most afraid.
Yeah.
And my immediate thought, not necessarily the first time I watched it, but as the film progressed, that opinion came in and then subsequently was reinforced at this moment, was, wait a minute, that whole amazing action sequence, which I agree with you, was really cool at the beginning. You were only afraid at the point where it was about to kill you. You're in this nether realm, being chased by this huge tentacle demon monster, which is breathing fire and trying to kill you. You're jumping through the ether, or whatever it is, but only at the point where you're starfish and about to get vaporized. That's when you're scared enough. And it plays into... later on, when you see the origin memory of her parents, her mother's disappearing through the portal, she's about to get stung by a bee. At that point, okay, as a child, you're afraid, but you're not afraid of death. You're just scared. So, hold on. Right up until that point, she's not terrified enough to open the portal, but only when she's about to die. To me, that just doesn't... it's a step too far from my expectation of Marvel writing.
But remember, in that scene, she's not afraid. Or, as you said, she only can jump when she's afraid. She's not afraid up until the point she's running through that corridor thing, or that path with Doctor Strange. It's when she sees him dead that she then goes... You know when the monster thing spits him out and he's on the floor with all the cuts and bruises under his dead, basically.
That's an interesting point.
But I agree. I mean, if fear is only when you watch someone die in front of you, but maybe she felt a sense of comfort that, oh, he's doing this with me. So she wasn't at her peak afraidness.
But then also the point at which he's basically ripping the power out of her and she's about to die. Why are you doing this to me? This is killing me. She's not pulling her power then, but only when the monster's then doing it to her.
Yeah.
Then she
does it. So
there's too many inconsistencies
there is,
which I think... Okay, my expectation of Marvel writing is extremely high.
Yeah.
because, as we've talked about previously, the first 22 films, the writing is so strong and there's so much consistency. I mean, out of 22 movies, name a bad one, like a genuinely bad one. Thor Dark World is kind of meh. It's a bit flat.
Yeah.
And for me, that's because the villain is a bit flat. But otherwise, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a great Marvel movie. But otherwise, all the rest of them have been really good. I feel like in this movie, I'm cast back to that movie where I'm like, what is this? This is like phoned in.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of writing, what did you think of the overall writing? Because I somewhat agree with you. I don't think it was that great. I think if you look at the writing as a whole and the film as a whole, I don't think it was that great. But when you go a bit deeper into certain characters and how they were written, or how the script was, what they would say and what they would do, I think it was that was quite good. Some of it, not all of it, but on the whole, I agree with you. But what is your opinion of that? What don't you like about that? What did you think was wrong with that?
I think I agree with you that there are elements of the writing which are good. I think Scarlet Witch's character, I have a load of issues with her character, which we'll come on to. But in and of itself, her character is well written because Elizabeth Olsen is incredible. She's a fantastic actor. And the way that she has portrayed the angst and the pain that she suffered and how she's basically now reached a point of almost desperation where there's nothing left. Everything has been taken away from her. So, you know what? I'm going all out because I don't deserve this and I deserve a better life. So I'm just going to go out and I'm going to take it.
But steadily, throughout the whole 20 whatever films, you see stuff being taken away from her. So you see the build up to what it is at this moment.
I guess where my issue is if you look at the movie as a single entity, she's written well. Her motivations are there. And her actions and the way she explains what she's doing in that film are well written and very well portrayed. I have issues, but we'll come back to that point. To answer your question, I think Benedict Cumberbatch, he did this whole thing in his sleep. I don't feel like there was a lot there for him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not that it was bad, because he's an incredible actor as well. Yeah. I just feel like he didn't really have to push himself to do anything. It was just really easy. And actually, for him, I didn't feel like there was any real moments. In fact, actually, that moment in the first scene where he's playing another version of himself, which you later find out is another version of himself, and he's faced with that decision of pulling the power out of her, that's quite a pivotal moment. Because you're seeing a different side of a different version of Doctor Strange. You don't know that at that moment.
But I think the version of him was the same, just with a ponytail. He didn't act in any way different, because as you said, what he did there is what he might have done anyway. Like when he, going back to what you said with Endgame, where no one expected him to give Thanos the stone. And he was like, well, this is the only way. So
and he made that unilateral decision.
So maybe with that, at that moment, our Doctor Strange, or the one that we know, would have still taken the powers from America Chavez.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think there was a variation of the character. It just looked a bit different.
I suppose actually thinking back to the movie, the point where he meets the version of himself in the destroyed universe.
Yeah.
That version of himself. Where he's almost like a caricature of himself, right? The dark version who's become twisted by the dark hold and all that kind of thing. That's a good portrayal. But I also don't feel like that's very hard for him.
No, and also that was so quick. it was like you didn't really.
Yeah, it's like he's there and then he's dead.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there we'll have a fight with music. Now you're dead.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
I mean, that whole sequence is so cool.
yeah, but that's what you expect from a Doctor Strange movie, right?
Yeah, it's just mind bending.
Yeah, it's just like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is like epic.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel like he was pushed. And all of the other characters, I mean, Rachel McAdams, I think she's just been criminally underused in both of the movies.
Yeah, it was just how she was, isn't it? She wasn't really in it for any particular reason.
Yeah, she's just sort of there. And I think that's sad because she's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And I think she can, given the opportunity, potentially bring a great deal to not just the role, but in any scene. She can absolutely hold her own and surpass anybody else in those kind of roles. She just wasn't written that way, which is fine. I guess that's a creative decision, and who are we to argue? So fair enough.
Yeah.
Benedict Wong as Wong is a scene stealer.
Yeah.
But again, he's always been that way, really. He's kind of there, and then he's not, and then he's there, and then he's not.
Well, as the Sorcerer Supreme, I felt he was a bit underused in that role. It was a bit like, okay. Yeah, he was there. He did a bit of authoritarian stuff, and then it was just like, oh, okay, he's out and in.
Yeah, and I think that frustrates me.
Yeah,
but not enough to really ding the movie for it. That's I think a minor point, but it for the purposes of analysing the characters and their portrayals and the actors' performances, I think it bears noting.
Yeah.
I think overall, my biggest issue is America Chavez.
Yeah,
because she's obviously the linchpin that is supposed to counterbalance the Scarlet Witch, right? You know, if you want to look at it this way, it's sort of like a chase movie.
Yeah,
but she, to me, is just a thing to chase.
But it might be an introduction into her character that we don't know yet, or some sort of mentor protege relationship that we don't know yet. Because if you look at, she's supposed to be invulnerable, super speed, super strength. Didn't see any of that, right? She can time travel and open portals. We saw that to some extent. But then when you look at, for example, Tony Stark and Spider-Man's relationship, how it started, where Spider-Man was at, or I'm trying to think of another mentor-mentee relationship in the Marvel universe, if there is one.
Don't know. Can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one, but
so I think it was an introduction, because you see her at the end in Kamatage training to use magic.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if she can use magic, but obviously they're going that way in the Marvel thing. So is she now going to be the new Doctor Strange when he phases out? Is she taking up that mantle of the sorcerer, or is she going to, through that training, unlock some more of her abilities? Or I don't know. So I agree with you that I think she was very underused, but maybe she was underused on purpose for the growth of her character over time.
I get your point, but I don't agree. The reason why is, if you were going to do that, and again, I guess it comes back down to the writing, where, be it a mentor-mentee relationship or not, any character that Marvel so far has introduced that they want to build up to become part of the wider universe over time, they've been really good at investing enough time in that character, essentially, so that you give a damn. Because at the moment, I don't give a damn about her. Every other character... Okay, I'll give you an example. Natalia Romanoff, Iron Man 2. She's introduced in quite a funny scene with Wrestling Happy and all that kind of stuff, and she's good, right? If you know, you know. If you're a Marvel fan and you know about her character and where her character goes and whatever, you know that this is who she is, because she's not obviously introduced as Black Widow. But in that movie, even as a sideline character, you see her move and do stuff, and you see the level of skill that she can bring to the table. And she's obviously with Robert Downey Jr. There's the banter, there's the kind of weird, odd, questionable sexual tension between the two of them at moments, at least from his side. And it's funny and it's entertaining, but you kind of know this is a character who now is feeding into the wider game, especially when Iron Man sits down with Nick Fury and then she comes and stabs him in the neck and does the whole thing, right? She wasn't a major character. She came out of nowhere and she became actually one of the most major loved characters in the entire cinematic universe. But that was there right from the first introduction of her. I don't get any of that from America Chavez. They haven't given her even a moment, really. There were moments, but I think they were written so badly that I just don't care about her, even if she does become that.
But I think she was in the film enough. And I also think the moment where they were in that memory thing, where you find out why that's what her hang up is with her getting scared and transporting her parents out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got to think, at the moment, her only power is being able to open portals, right? So she can't keep doing that. She's got no fighting ability or nothing.
Yeah, that's fair.
You see a bit of her strength at the end when she starts punching Scarlet Witch. I mean, obviously it does nothing at this, but it you know, there is something there. So you can see a bit of something forming. So I don't know if that's like, okay, this is now her, this is not her, it's not really a backstory, but you know, sort of the origin. And then it's now building that up slowly with the help of Doctor Strange or Wong or just herself, or whoever.
Yeah, okay, I can get on board with that. I still don't feel a great deal for her.
I agree, and neither do I. But maybe you don't right now.
Yeah, maybe you're just not supposed to.
Remember, America Chavez is a 2011 Marvel character as well,
very little.
I mean, we all know Black Widow from childhood, so maybe we can't relate, but maybe it will be something. I mean, there might be people going nuts for her when she came on the screen.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's there is an element of that there. So yeah, okay, I'll take that on board. That's interesting. I guess my initial feeling was she's just a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
she's just a thing there that does a thing, a person there, I should say, who does a thing, and that is essential to the plot. So we're just going to leave her there, and everything else is going to go on around her as a result of her presence. But she, in and of herself, has very little depth. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they want to build that point a bit more slowly. That's fair.
I agree with that, with what you said. Yeah. Black Widow.
Yeah.
The main character. So what?
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Sorry, Scarlet Witch. Yeah. What do you think of that? Because I think she was, for me, the best thing about the film. For me, just her progression from where she was to where she is. There are issues with it, we can discuss that, but I think just generally as a whole, and her acting almost on the point of desperation of what people do, and then just where Sam Raimi, who directed it, went with that. I mean, I think it was maybe the darkest Marvel film we've ever seen in terms of like neck snapping and murdering and blood and stuff.
I mean, I won't lie, I enjoyed every moment of all of that. That was extremely cool. Okay, so I'm so conflicted with the Scarlet Witch character. I think Doctor Strange is an easier character to dissect because he's reacting to everything that's going on. You understand what he's doing. It's written in a bit of a convoluted way, but that's the writing. He does what he does, and he goes here and he goes there, and he has this experience, and now blah 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 blah. And at the end of it, he makes the right decision, and it goes the way it goes. Fine. Like it, don't like it. With Scarlet Witch, I think what she does and the manner in which she does it is extremely cool. And I think it was shot really well. I agree with you about her acting. It's just fantastic. The way, all that desperation, all that pain, and all that horror, it's everything that's happened to her now being pushed back out onto the world. I suppose my difficulty lies in how the hell did we get from the end of WandaVision, where, yeah, she's done some screwed up stuff, to this point at the beginning of this movie. I feel like there's a void. Do you not?
Yeah,
do you feel
I think,
that?
I think that too. I think that's the missing link, maybe, where you can't identify with how her hurt and rage and whatever else has gone from that point to that point. I can't remember if the end of WandaVision, when she left Westview, did she go to where she was when Doctor Strange met her? Where did she go?
This apple orchard. I don't think we know.
Because because then it would be a sort of continuation. But you're right; it's missing a lot in the sense of, how did you just go to this level suddenly? Because she was very, I mean, she didn't really in Westview hurt anyone on the level that she did in this film, right?
She didn't willfully go out and kill anybody.
No, but also she did say at the beginning, when Doctor Strange meets with her and she goes, I'm going to come to Kamatage and take she goes, I will be reasonable. And when you see where she progressed to at the end, she was pretty reasonable in the beginning, because at the end she was just on another level.
Well, I'm not sure if I fully agree with that, but I guess it's a wider conversation then about, I mean, you see this in gaming all the time, right? But I think it's the first time I've really seen it in a movie, because the Marvel movie franchise is so long, and it's an issue with power creep. Right, you get it in gaming, right, where you get to a point where, how do you keep increasing the power level of a character in some sort of RPG or loot shooter or whatever it might be, to the point where, reasonably speaking, everyone who you would fight, you've become so powerful that it's easy and you just wipe everything out. So game developers have to create new reasons and new issues as to why your enemies have also gotten stronger, to keep leading you down that path. In movies, I've never really thought of it, but with Thanos being as powerful as he was, planet destroyer and all that kind of stuff with the Infinity Stones, where do you go from here? And it would appear that they've gone to Scarlet Witch and they've made her basically unkillable. I mean, you would think that the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange, who is New York Sanctum dude, and the other Sanctums from Hong Kong and London, as well as all their acolytes and their students in Kamatage, which is supposed to be like the hub center of magic, would be able to hold her off a little bit better than they did. And those other guardians of the Sanctums they just like disappeared. They only suddenly reappear at the end of that scene where she pulls them out of the ground and is torturing them. And I think they've inflated her power level to such a point, not just throughout the movie, but actually right from the start, from that scene where supposedly she's merciful and just wipes out the entire student body of Kamatage University. You kind of wonder...
KTU.
Yeah, KTU. I kind of wonder, have they gone... just way too far with it? I get that she might be that powerful in the comic. Is she that powerful in the comic?
Yeah, she's super powerful. I mean, I think you see a glimpse of it in... Because it's sort of like she doesn't know her potential, but you see the rage in Age of Ultron, where she rips Ultron's heart out. I mean, that's not a show of her power, but you can see her anger.
Oh yeah, I see the anger and the rage.
You see a showing of her power glimpse in Endgame, where she single-handedly lifts Thanos off the ground, starts peeling his armor off, and the only way you can stop it is to rain fire.
Yes, that's true. I guess it comes more from Westview, where we've already said she doesn't willfully hurt anybody.
No.
Her traumatic experiences have warped her mind to the point where she's inadvertently created this false reality for herself because she feels so empty. And as a result of that, she has roped all these other people in who don't know what's going on. And when she realizes what she's done at the end of that series, she seems to be sorry. She shows remorse for what she's done, and then she becomes the Scarlet Witch to destroy Agatha Harkness, who is obviously a bad character, hundreds of years old, and in the comics, from what I understand, one of her arch nemeses. At that point, she's still good. At that point, she has done something wrong, but not really hurt anybody in a, I'm blowing your brains out type of thing.
Yeah. But she's harnessed the power of the Darkhold at that point.
Right, and I guess that's the disconnect. So she's obviously harnessed the power of the Darkhold. That has both given her access to perhaps a level of power which she had up to that point not had access to, and started to warp her mind. But I feel like the gulf between the end of WandaVision and the start of this movie, there's just too much unexplained. I mean, if there had been a flashback or another couple of episodes or even another series of WandaVision which showed how she has become so much stronger, or she's getting so much stronger, but at the same time is being corrupted by the Darkhold, it's like I find it a bit throwaway.
Yeah,
she's using the Darkhold. Yes. Oh, it's corrupting her. Okay,
I agree with that, and I think there's a massive gap, like you said, between Westview and WandaVision and this film. Just going back to a point about when you said how she defeats everyone at Kamatage, she doesn't actually use force to defeat them. She goes inside someone's head to weaken them within, which I thought was...
That was cool.
Yeah, which I thought, okay, cool. Right, well, maybe they're stronger than she thinks, so this is the way to go through the defenses and do it. So I thought that was good use of that scene to show how she's actually breaking into there.
Yeah, but then when she lands afterwards and Wong and Doctor Strange are all standing there, she just like evaporates a dude who's dying on the floor.
Yeah.
So
and she does then strike something down, some sort of energy thing, or her red things that come out the balls, that just explodes and everyone goes flying. You don't actually know if they're unconscious or dead or whatever.
But the follow-on point where she evaporates that person immediately makes me think, they're all dead. That's KTU is gone. It's done.
But in a way, I liked that. As a villain person, I like whoa, you're properly going for it.
Yeah. I mean, we like that stuff, right? You know, when Ben Affleck started playing Batman and started just basically beating the hell out of everybody,
people's bones and
that
stuff.
Was awesome. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but we enjoy violence a great deal, at least on screen. So that was where the conflict comes in me. I liked what she was doing. I understood to some extent why she's doing it, but only in that movie.
The
expectation with Marvel is that there's a very kind of linear progression for characters, and you learn their motivations, you understand why they're doing what they're doing, and how they've gotten from being cute and cuddly to now savage, or just super powerful and super heroic and whatever. You know, like Spider-Man, for example. He's just a kid, but he's now become, through the progression of his movies and his part in the Avengers, a really cool, very well fleshed out character. And he has matured. I don't get that with Scarlet Witch because of that gap.
But remember, in this film, you've got that America Chavez story, or what's going on with her running in parallel, right?
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch has identified that America Chavez holds the key to her being able to, whether it be dreamwalk or go herself, I don't know, into another dimension to be with her kids, right? Mm-hmm. She had no way to do that before. So at that point, she's like, I will do anything to get this. So maybe that's where the like we said, desperation. Maybe that's where the killing. It's like, I don't care. I need this. If you're in my way, I don't care. I'm going to get it. Whatever. I'll kill you to get it. Maybe, but I mean that's the only way. But I do agree that it sort of ramps up. Then when I think we can all agree the Illuminati scene was a good, nice little intro to those characters and a nice little, throwback to a time long gone with some of those characters. But that's where her savageness comes out.
Oh yeah, I mean the unwrapping of Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
like a cheese string.
Yeah, he didn't put up much of a fight. I was a bit disappointed about that, but really, what is he going to be able to do?
So I have a bit of a problem with that scene.
Yeah.
Not to be negative and just dunk on the film throughout, but I enjoyed the scene. I thought all of that whole sequence was really cool. I thought all of the characters are really well done. I mean, to get to see Professor X.
But that Professor X with the old school X-Men music and him coming out in the yellow wheelchair. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like it was just fan service for the sake of fan service, because everybody has been asking for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to be Miss Fantastic and Miss Invisible, whatever her name is, Invisible Girl.
Don't forget they also used Anson Mount for Black Bolt, which he played in Inhumans. Yeah. So they've carried on that continuity with that as well.
That show is no longer there. But yeah, that was cool. So they kept all the continuity there.
Yeah.
So it's all great to see, and my hope is that we get to see more of it at some point. And this is probably going to be a super controversial point to make, but the fight scene bugged me because they just killed the two dudes and then it ended up being a bitch fight. And a bitch fight with Captain Carter. If Mr. Fantastic gets his whole body peeled and basically his brain exploded in a split second, why did she survive? Yeah, she could have easily done exactly the same thing. I know it's for to make the scene interesting, but for me, Black Bolt, why would you make a noise if your mouth has just been sewn?
That's what I had an issue with.
It was like, okay, we've got to get rid of these two.
Maybe he thought he could blow his mouth open.
I mean, come on, what was that?
Definitely
it was
blew something out.
It was just, I found that frustrating, Black Bolt's death.
Yeah.
John Krasinski, Miss Fantastic, you're done. You've got nothing. But I would say the same thing about Captain Carter. I think they've done it because obviously people have been asking for her for ages, and then they gave us that teaser when they brought her into the What If episode, and obviously she's awesome, and people have been saying bring her back, just do something. So maybe this is what they wanted to do as a lead-in, but I found it annoying. And it was the same thing with Captain Marvel. She's also born of an Infinity Stone.
Yeah,
she got killed by a falling statue. What is that?
Yeah.
What is she can fly in space?
The same stone, I think, as well.
Yes.
They're both the Tesseract.
Both from the Tesseract. So how does she die from a falling statue?
Yeah.
Where she can fly in space?
Yeah.
And actually, in the comics, if I'm not mistaken, she can travel like through portals and stuff. And she's mega. I mean, you've got Thanos. She's holding onto his gloved hand, trying to beat on her, and nothing. Energy field, nothing. You got nothing.
Marvel,
the other Captain Marvel.
And the only way was to him to get a stone,
a power stone,
with the stone.
And hit with a power stone. And she still came back. It's not like she died.
Yeah.
But she gets killed by a falling statue.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that which I found. Those inconsistencies are breaking my immersion in the story of the film, because I don't feel like in many movies, I feel like I question what's going on in Marvel movies. I'm always like, oh, that was really cool. In that whole action sequence, I was like, wait, what? Wait, hold on. No, that doesn't make sense. No, that doesn't make sense. Why? I have a massive problem with movies that treat the audience like they're just a little bit too thick to get it. I don't like that. And up until now, for the most part, Marvel never does that. They never do it. They treat you like you're bright enough to get it. In that scene, I felt like I was being treated like I was a bit dumb. That I wouldn't pick up on it. I did.
Yeah.
I did pick up on it, and I didn't like it one bit.
No, I agree. It was a bit.
I'm going to move this before I knock the damn thing over.
It was a bit weird, but I had a problem with. I mean, if you are a Marvel fan, which I'm assuming that you will be if you're watching the films, for this film to make absolute 100% sense, you sort of have to watch a lot of things before this film. So you have to watch WandaVision, because otherwise you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You have to watch What If, otherwise you don't understand the relevance of Captain Carter being who she is.
Well, not the zombie strange,
Yeah,
and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. It's kind of like, wait, what's
and
going on
we'll
here?
come
Yeah.
back to What If, because I think there's a lot of What If in this film.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to make a standalone film, then fine, but then don't relate it to stuff. Now, maybe they're not trying to. Maybe they're trying to link it in with Marvel, which I understand. But then if you're linking it in, where does the multiverse link into? It's from Spider-Man, where it started, right? Why is there no mention of anything to do with that, or any, oh, this is an issue that happened and now this multiverse has happened and now we've got these other issues? It was just like closed off, and this is something totally different. So it's like they tried to link it in, but also at the same time tried to not link it in, which I didn't really understand, which confused me a bit.
Yeah, there's barely a mention of it, right?
Yeah, I think he mentioned Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's at that cafe scene.
Yeah, but now obviously his memory is erased, so he doesn't know who Spider-Man is.
So that's
right?
interesting, actually, because I wasn't sure whether his memory was going to be erased.
I think he erased everyone's memory,
Yeah, including his own.
Yeah.
I suppose that makes sense, because at the movie, it's kind of a sad farewell between the two of them, right?
Yeah.
Because he's saying, I won't remember you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it now. Yeah, I guess there's another wider conversation here, which is, how do you feel like this movie sits within the wider Marvel Universe Phase 4 conversation? Because I really don't know.
No, but I mean, the way Phase 4 is going, I don't know anything about anything right now. I don't know how anything's linked to anything. I don't understand what direction they're trying to go in. I don't understand anything about who the major villain could be. You sort of start getting glimpses of Infinity Stones from, the previous phase, and then you can sort of work out, if you know your stuff, Infinity Stones, Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos. But where is this going? There is nothing to indicate where this is going.
I'm so lost.
Maybe that's good. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they will.
Doesn't feel good.
No, but maybe it's a case that they will have it so far apart, and then it will all come together, and you will say, in a few years, they've done that in the best possible way. I don't know. And speaking of statue falling, how does Scarlet Witch kill herself by dropping a statue on herself?
Yeah, you got to wonder. You've got to sort of. All of these movies require you to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah,
of course they do.
Of course, yeah.
Right? I guess I'm feeling a lot like they've pushed it so far that I don't think I have any disbelief left to suspend. It's just so strange. All of it. Strange. I think it just goes a bit too far. Too much of it goes too far for me.
Yeah.
And in that, why you can't help it. It's a Marvel movie, right? So I suppose they're their own worst enemy, that there's always a whole bunch of other movies to kind of compare it to. All of them being different, but all of them sharing the same air. And I guess that's where I really struggle, because for me, although, to come back to Thor 2 Dark World, was a flat movie, because it wasn't that greatly written. I mean, Chris Hemsworth has come out himself and said we should have done better. And in fact has gone on to say he'll only ever do another movie, and if Taika Waititi is going to do it, which is why he's doing Love and Thunder, because he knows he's going to give the characters their due.
Yeah.
That, to me, I found an easier watch, because even though it might be a bit flat, there's still points in it which, I mean, the ether introduces that stone, the reality stone. It introduces how his relationship with Natalie Portman is moving and in that direction, where she's pissed at him because he disappeared and all that kind of stuff. The relationship with his father and all of those things. There's more going on. The death of his mother, how that motivates him in other movies. There's stuff there. Although it was a bit flat, it had meaning and relevance to the wider storyline. So you can sort of forgive it. Here, I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going. I don't know where you're going with this. So we're left basically with Doctor Strange isn't the asshole that America Chavez experienced in the other universe. Great. Has his character grown?
Well, there's only one scene that indicates it might have grown, which is where he fixes his watch, which is showing some sort of growth without actually saying anything. But as holistically throughout the whole film, probably no, not really.
Yeah, that bugged me as well, because he took the glass of a Jaeger-LeCoultre $55,000 watch and repaired it at home. I think you'd probably take it into an authorised service dealer and get it fixed there.
He's a wizard.
That's true. That's a good point. He's a wizard. He could probably keep all the dust away, and all right, that's a fair point. Take it back. I don't think they moved him along particularly, but I take your point there. Scarlet Witch is presumed dead.
Yeah. The thing that bugged me about the resolution of her character before she did her "I'll drop a statue on myself to kill me" thing was, if all it took was America Chavez to show her that, look, you're creeping your kids out, just let the other Scarlet Witches of these other multiverses
look after them
and just be happy knowing that they exist somewhere and they're being looked after.
Yeah.
Why didn't no one just do that right at the beginning and be like, listen? So,
well, we had this conversation before, right? Where I was like, okay, so why didn't, instead of sending demons after her, why not go up to her and say, hey, I've had a really bad few years. I know you can't control your power. Maybe we can work together and I can teach you. Or let's go and see this dude, Doctor Strange, and maybe we can have a little chat. And see if we can train you up. Maybe you can learn how to use your power, because I really like to see my kids and maybe kill another version of myself. Maybe leave that information out, but maybe you'll get what you want. As opposed to, and there's an argument, the Darkhold has corrupted her and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it could still have corrupted her, but because it was corrupting her at the start, but she tried to do things in a, in a way of certain subterfuge or deceit. But she could have done that throughout the film. And
I guess they show there's no point where you think, she's completely lost control. She's compos mentis throughout that entire movie, corrupted or not corrupted.
That bit where she's bloodied her face and she's limping through chasing them, at that point I did think, whoa, you're like,
you're crazy now.
Yeah.
But up until that point, and actually in moments afterwards as well, she seems completely coherent.
I think that's the beauty of a character, that she's so desperate, but you see that there's something in her. There's something in her that's gone now.
It's broken.
It's like buried deep, but something is there. And I liked that sort of switching between, I'm a complete crazed psycho, but there is a hint of humanity. You can see something in me where all I want to really do is be with my kids.
You see, I get that. If they had lent into... I think where I find it difficult, actually, now thinking about it and talking it through with you, you made a good point there that sort of triggered something in me. She's like a split personality.
Yeah, exactly.
But not portrayed with a split personality.
No.
And I think if they had lent more into that, where... So, for example, I think one moment which would have really brought that home and actually brought the whole thing together is when Professor X goes into her mind and sees the other version of her trapped in the falling
rubble and all that
rubble,
stuff. Yeah.
Right? That's a nod to Sokovia, right? Back when their home was being destroyed and she was trapped and waiting for her death.
Looking at the Stark missile.
At the Stark missile. That is very cool imagery. And she's doing that to another version of herself.
Yeah.
What would have been awesome to see is if there was another Wanda there, her own internal Wanda, the old one. before the Darkhold was corrupted, that had been almost imprisoned by this version of her corrupted by the Darkhold, to show that there is actually some level of internal conflict, but this internal one who has suffered all of this same grief and pain but doesn't want to hurt anybody and doesn't know what to do but doesn't want to go to this extreme length, is trapped and completely overrun by this version of herself, the Scarlet Witch. Because there are sort of moments where there's like, Wanda's gone, I'm the Scarlet Witch, but not enough for me, because actually in those characters where you've seen them be heroes and become corrupted, there needs to be a conflict, because otherwise, like you said, the resolution at the end where suddenly she's like, no, this is wrong and I'm going to kill myself, comes out of absolutely nowhere. There's no moment where you can see this other version of her trying to break through. It's just like, oh yeah, this is not good. This is not a good idea. Okay, dead.
I think visually to do that would have been hard, because how do you explain that visually? Because there's effectively 3 Wandas and 1 Professor X, and be like, what's going on here? But I think also that at the point where she's doing that, she is fully corrupted. So there is no other Wanda. She's coming as her Darkhold Wanda.
Fair point.
Into the
I
mind.
guess
because then she snaps Professor X's neck, right? And you see
that moment
you
is
see
so
her fingers.
creepy where she comes behind
and like this guy, this is Professor X, level 5 telekinetic mutant, right? And she just owns him in mind games. Yeah. And you just think, whoa, this is like on another level now.
Yeah. Professor X got done.
Yeah.
He always seems to get done.
Yeah.
He either gets evaporated, or
Yeah.
he gets Wolverine spikes through his chest, or apparently he gets his neck broken.
Yeah.
Poor git.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a poor example.
But I agree, they need to explain the conflict, or you need to see it on her outer self. Like when she is Darkhold Wanda with a crown and stuff, there needs to be something where she just changes for a minute, or something happens and you think, whoa, you're acting
There's
different.
no hesitation.
Right?
Yeah,
there needs to be like a,
so
oh
any
my God,
moment,
help me.
like at Kamatage, right, where she evaporates that dude, she could have gone to do it and then just stopped and been like, even if all she'd done is kind of had a little shake, and then maybe still done it, but been like, and then done it. I'm no actor, but like darkened her gaze as the Scarlet Witch takes hold again.
Yeah. I mean, I think where they have, just come into mind what you're saying, where they have done it really well is X-Men. The Last Stand, is it? Where Jean is Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
And she's destroying him. All his skin and stuff's coming out.
And then she's saying, kill me.
But she's saying, kill me. And then he goes, and when he stabs her, her face changes. And she gets a little smile on her face. And you think,
she's free.
Yeah. And I think they could have done something like that where she just turns and it's like...
That's not the best example of a movie. But that is actually very, very good.
Yeah.
A really good way of portraying the point, right? That conflict that the Dark Phoenix goes through is as a result of an external force which is corrupting a very powerful but essentially good person into doing things which they don't really want to do, but do because, the whole point of the Phoenix is that she just feels, without any equivocation. It's just all of her feelings.
It's just exploration, and I'm going to do this just to see what
it's like. Unbridled, just emotion, right? So, in a way, that is analogous to what Scarlet Witch is going through. All her pain, all her grief, all her sorrow, all her anger, all just coming out completely unfiltered and through the lens of this newfound extreme power. But I think without that conflict, to ground the character, yes, she portrays it very well, but I'm like, well, I don't get it.
Yeah,
like
I see that. I can understand that. It's like her character, they've done the middle, but there's no real clear beginning as to how she's got to where she is, and there's no real clear end as to why she's suddenly just tipped a statue on herself.
Yeah, which leaves me unsatisfied.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. I think, I do understand that. The one thing we haven't talked about is, what did you think of the music? Because obviously in a Marvel film, music is everything. You've got Avengers theme tunes that you've got Iron Man theme tunes that you know, Captain America. So what did you think of that?
Well, it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's very
weird.
Yeah. It's something you would expect in Doctor Strange, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, if you said to me, hum the tunes back, I couldn't, because I don't think they were tunes. I think it was just random noises, but really well done. You know what it reminds me of? You know War of the Worlds, when the Walker things come in?
Yeah.
You just hear that deep horn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not really a soundtrack, but the sound of that is perfect for the scene. And I think that's sort of what they did with their collection of sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think perhaps Sam Raimi's influence from horror as well.
Definitely.
You know, horror movies don't use conventional music. Of course, they use conventional music, but they use it in a completely unconventional way. And they use it moment to moment in order to create tension. They don't always just use music. They use sounds and noises and just all sorts of weird stuff. And, you know, it's that scene where he fights the other version of himself with the musical notes. When it started, I was like, wait, what's he doing? And then it goes off on one, and my mind was just blown.
Yeah.
How cool is that whole sequence? It's so cool. See, this is what I mean. There's so much cool stuff.
Yeah. There is.
That was a really cool scene. And yeah, I mean, absolute credit to that whole team, what they did. Just awesome. And new and fresh. We've not seen anything like that.
No.
Like you said, like the Captain America theme, the Avengers theme, the Iron Man theme, they're all cool, and the music defines that character. In some way, Doctor Strange is defined by no music, but just sounds. I mean, obviously he has his theme tune.
Yeah.
But the movies are defined by the lack of that kind of just running theme, and the bizarre and the wild and the weird.
The sound goes really cool with the visuals that you're looking at, which is great.
Just cool.
Yeah,
so cool. Overall, then,
right. So how are we going to do this? Out of 10 rating?
Yeah, I guess.
I think, like you said, there was stuff that was brilliant. I like the music. I like the visuals. I like the Sam Raimi influence, like you said, with the zombie stuff, the Wanda like pacing around, limping with blood on her face, snapping people's necks, all of that dark stuff. I had an issue with the story a bit. I had an issue with where it fits into the Marvel universe. I'm going to put it just a bit better than, I'm going to go 5.5 or 6 out of 10. I don't think it was the greatest film. I don't think it was the worst film. It's a Marvel film. If you have to go in the order of watching all the Marvel films, I would watch it, but it's nothing fantastic for me. What do you think?
I'm going to give it a 4.
Wow, that's low.
And that is purely not to discredit all the people who've made the film, because we've already discussed all that. You've obviously given all those accolades to the set design and the CGI and the cast, and it's all good. Great action sequences. It's nothing to take away from that. This is purely for me how I feel at the end of a movie. You know, if Infinity War, I left that movie wondering. And if there had been a revolving door, I would have gone out and walked straight back in and watched the whole thing again. I had to wait, which really bugged me. But I was just desperate for more. I really wanted to not just see the next chapter, but to go back and watch it all again and experience everything again, and know that I was going to pick up stuff that I just couldn't physically take in at the time, because that's what Marvel movies do, right? There's always these little things, or at least there were. When I finished that movie, I was left very cold, because it didn't add up to me. And while there were moments which were really enjoyable, as a whole, I felt a bit let down. And I use this word probably incorrectly, but I felt a little betrayed because my expectations, and this is probably more to do with me than anybody else, my expectations are just really, really high.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when we bought No Man's Sky. The expectation was this was going to be an amazing game-changing movie. It was going to take us in a really cool place, and it was so crap. Not now, from what I hear, it's amazing now.
It's really good now, but maybe that's in the grand scheme of things when that movie is placed in its place in this whole phase. Maybe, I mean, it'll still be not a great movie, but maybe more will make sense.
Yeah, maybe it'll make more sense.
And based on the end credits, remember, we don't know. All we know is that Clea's come in.
Yeah.
Who obviously is, I think in the comics, she's married to him at one point. Or
they do end up getting married.
And they've opened the dark dimension, as you can see by the psychedelic
so
board.
Dormammu there.
Yeah, so Dormammu's there, who's her uncle or something, so related to her in some way. So who knows where it's going with that, but...
Yeah, true.
Maybe he's the big bad, but that would be silly because Doctor Strange already dealt with him.
But made a bargain.
Yeah, 100 times the same bargain.
Yeah, the same bargain. Yeah, so that's where I am with it. What I will say is that I do want to watch it again.
Yeah,
and I think maybe it's one of those movies I need to give myself a bit more time. Like I was saying to you that Tenet was that kind of movie.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, I was like, I liked a lot of the parts of the movie, but as a whole, it just doesn't sit right with me. But as time went on, and I gave myself a chance to understand the damn thing, and then watch it again, and then you start to put the pieces together. Now I really like it. I know not everyone shares that opinion, but I still think it's a good movie. Maybe that's what I need to do here and watch it again. Maybe it will start to make more sense. But I don't want to do that too much because obviously we've talked about it a lot. And I wonder whether by talking out the development of Scarlet Witch's character, obviously I'm letting go of the fact that it hasn't been explained because I've kind of explained it to myself now. So I'll be less affected by that. But the reality is the first time you watch a movie, how you walk out feeling is the truest moment that you'll have, in your opinion, if that makes sense.
In the majority of cases, I have found that's not the case.
Oh no, I'm sure it doesn't.
Yeah,
but I guess that's what I'm saying, right? Because you can, if you leave a movie and you don't understand one moment of it, even as an intelligent young person who understands like mysticism and sci-fi and technology and stuff, and you're like, I don't get this, and it needs to be explained to you. Or you need to do a whole load of reading to get it, I would say to some extent that movie may have failed in its goal. Because you should be able to, at least in my opinion, walk out of a movie and get it and enjoy it and have enjoyed it there and then.
You should be able to get generally. I mean, that you think of films like Interstellar where you might have to go away and think, I need to understand black holes or I need to understand time dilation or whatever. But yes, you're right. When you watch the film, you should understand what's happened in the film.
Yes.
Even if you don't grasp the concepts of physics properly.
Yeah, the wider concepts, right?
You should know. Yeah.
If there's stuff that you don't understand, but it doesn't distract you from the enjoyment of the moment-to-moment story and action, because Interstellar is a character-driven story on the backdrop of space and time travel, right? It's about him and his daughter and the relationship between him and his daughter. So even if you don't quite get it, that is always there, and it comes through and shines through throughout the whole movie, and even more so at the end. I think my problem here is that I don't feel that. I don't like if I leave a movie, not that I don't understand it, because there's nothing really not to understand with Scarlet Witch, but I feel like there's parts of it which don't add up. There's too many inconsistencies, and there's too many points which haven't been clarified or explained very well. And I guess that's kind of where my score comes from.
And I sort of agree. So what we're saying, it's below average to average movie.
Yeah, below average to average.
Yeah. So in that area.
Yeah, that sweet spot of crap.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that about wraps it up. Please leave your comments down below. Let us know if you share our thoughts. So if you disagree with them, that's okay too. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be back with some more videos in the next few days. Please like and subscribe.
Thank you.
Bye.